The land of the Buddha, why Buddhism faded in India. India is the birthplace of Buddhism. If you've ever watched the TV series or movie adaptation of Journey to the West, you probably have a growing understanding of this fact. But why is it that today hardly anyone in India talks about Buddhism anymore, focusing instead on Hinduism and Islam? Why did the majority of Indians stop following the Buddha's teachings? It must be said that today Buddhism in India plays a rather modest role compared to other religions, despite its profound historical roots in the very soil of this nation. To say that Indians no longer follow Buddhism isn't entirely accurate. It's more precise to say that Buddhism now plays an extremely humble part in the country's religious landscape. A modest presence, a powerful message. Currently, Buddhism in India is mainly concentrated in certain areas. For example, there is a strong Buddhist movement in the state of Maharashtra. This movement was initiated in the mid-20th century to help the Dalits, the lowest unranked class in the Indian social hierarchy, escape the oppression of the caste system. Maharashtra is the second most populous state in India, trailing only Uttar Pradesh, with an estimated population of about 125 million people. However, it's not the entire state that follows Buddhism, but rather a relatively small segment. Today, Buddhism serves as a powerful vehicle for promoting social equality and liberating the oppressed. Yet, in terms of sheer numbers, it represents only a tiny fraction of India's total population, the most populous nation on the planet, with over 1.4 billion people. According to the most recent data from the Indian census, Hinduism remains the dominant religion, claiming the highest percentage, with approximately 80% of the population, which corresponds to over 966 million adherents. Following closely, Islam is the second largest religion in India, accounting for 14.2% of the population, or about 172 million people. Other religions follow, such as Christianity, which accounts for about 2.3%, 28 million people, Sikhism at roughly 1.7%, 20 million people, and Buddhism, which accounts for only 0.7% of the population, corresponding to about 8 to 9 million people. This is a very small, not to say minuscule number compared to Hinduism, the nation's principal religion. India also has a number of indigenous religions and other faiths that make up smaller percentages, but globally, Buddhism is a major world religion that has suffered a decline right in its own backyard. The rise in global spread? It is Buddhism's backyard because its origins are deeply Indian. Buddhism was founded by Siddhartha Gautama, the historical Shakyamuni Buddha. He was born around the 6th century BCE in the region known as Kapilavastu, within the territory of the Shakya kingdom, which today lies near the border between India and Nepal. Born into a royal family, Siddhartha was shielded from the harsh realities of the world. However, after witnessing the suffering of old age, sickness, and death, he renounced his luxurious life to seek a path to liberation. Following years of severe asceticism and meditation, he attained enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, which is currently located in the state of Bihar, India. From that moment, he became the Buddha, the awakened one, and began to preach his doctrines to help humanity break free from the cycle of birth, death, and suffering, samsara. Buddhism quickly spread out of India, reaching neighboring regions, across Asia, to China, and to many other territories, even those far more distant. In many of these places, Buddhism now thrives more vigorously than it does in India itself. Thus, although Buddhism originated in India over many centuries, the growth of other religions, especially Hinduism and Islam, weakened Buddhism in its own homeland. Today, it no longer holds the pivotal position in India that it once did, but a small community of Buddhists and cherished Buddhist sites are still preserved and revered. The long, complex story of decline. What happened to the Indian people? Did they simply lose interest in Buddhism, or is there a much longer historical narrative at play? The story of Buddhism in India is like a lengthy historical drama with many different twists and turns. The birthplace of the Shakyamuni Buddha is now a place where few follow his teachings. Let's begin the tale. More than 2,000 years ago, when the mighty Maurya Empire ruled almost the entire Indian subcontinent, the apex of Buddhism was reached during the reign of Emperor Ashoka. After realizing that war brought no benefit, Emperor Ashoka had a complete change of heart, a 180-degree turn. He transformed from a fearsome conqueror into a righteous ruler who adopted and championed Buddhism. Not only that, he used his imperial power to promote Buddhism everywhere. Emperor Ashoka commissioned the construction of numerous stupas, dome-shaped shrines, and rock pillars across India. He even sent missionary delegations abroad from the region of modern-day Sri Lanka all the way to Greece to spread the Dharma. But times change, and the kingdom's fervent commitment to Buddhism was like a flame that flares brightly and then fades. After Emperor Ashoka's death, the Maurya Empire declined and was eventually succeeded by the Gupta Empire around the 4th to 5th centuries CE. The Gupta kings were more conservative, returning to and strongly supporting Hinduism. Hinduism was not just a religion, but an integral part of Indian culture and way of life. It easily integrated and became the mainstream, while Buddhism was pushed to the periphery. The Gupta dynasty did not exactly persecute Buddhism, but with such vigorous state support for Hinduism, Buddhism gradually lost its magnetic appeal. The climactic downfall. However, this was not the true turning point of Buddhism's decline. The ultimate crisis came with the invasions of the Islamic empires starting in the 7th century and onwards. Already weakened, Buddhism was now confronted by a much more formidable opponent. The Islamic dynasties, from the Ghaznavids to the Delhi Sultanate rulers, were generally not sympathetic to Buddhism. They attacked, plundered, and destroyed major Buddhist centers. The most famous example is the catastrophic destruction of Nalanda University in the 12th century. Nalanda was not just a school, it was the Harvard of the ancient world. Imagine the tragedy of the most renowned university being destroyed, scholars massacred, and books burned. This was a true catastrophe for Buddhism in India. Prior to this, Nalanda had flourished, becoming a destination for scholars from all over the world, including China, Tibet, Korea, Japan, Mongolia, Thailand, Sri Lanka, and many others. It was not only a place for cultural exchange, but a hub where scholars shared knowledge, but it was destroyed. The core difference: power versus renunciation. Furthermore, Buddhism, with its emphasis on renunciation of the mundane world, was not a religion that easily sustained political power. Kings and rulers did not favor this. Hinduism, with its established caste system and rich collection of rituals, held a stronger attraction for monarchs and the upper classes, as it helped them perpetually maintain their privileged status. Hinduism boasted a diverse and abundant pantheon of gods and rituals. If you sought wealth, there was a god of wealth. If you sought power, there was a god of war. Buddhism, however, emphasized letting go and attaining enlightenment, which is not an easy path. People found that praying to the god of wealth or the god of power seemed much more practical. This crucial difference allowed Hinduism to rapidly gain dominance, and Buddhism was gradually forgotten by the populace. A 20th century revival. Of course, the story of Buddhism in India is not entirely one of tragedy. In the 20th century, a movement led by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar brought Buddhism back to millions of Dalits. He saw Buddhism, with its message of equality, as a vital solution to counter the oppression of the caste system. In 1956, he and hundreds of thousands of Dalits collectively converted to Buddhism in a mass ceremony. Today, while Buddhists in India remain a minority, the religion is experiencing a resurgence, especially in areas like Maharashtra. This serves as a potent reminder that despite the highs and lows, Buddhism retains an important place in the hearts of those who seek the path to enlightenment. In conclusion, the story of Buddhism in India is a turbulent journey, from its peak to decline and then to a hopeful revival under new circumstances. It is a vivid testament that history is full of surprises, and the development of religion does not always proceed in a straight line.